I'm just very, very lucky that I've been married to such a great horseman.
I've had an awful lot of pleasure from thinking about Tim Stockdale, watching how Joe has progressed.
William, I actually miss you when you're away. And do you miss Pippa?
I miss you when I'm away.
We're making progress here, guys.
Talk Horse marriage counselling session.
I'm so unqualified for this. I'm actually probably less qualified for this than I am the podcast.
Welcome to Talk Horse.
Our gallop through the highs and lows of the equestrian world.
I'm Pippa Funnell. I've been eventing all of my life pretty much, and I've been very lucky, won a few medals at some Olympics. And I'm also an author of a children's book series, Pippa's Ponytails.
I'm Tristan Phipps. You may recognise me from Made in Chelsea. However, there is a reason I'm here. I am horse curious. I love the outdoors. I love nature. And each week I'm learning more and more about the equestrian world. And I'm absolutely loving it, I have to say.
I'm glad to hear that. It's great that you keep coming back. But today, Tristan, we have a very special guest.
I believe so.
Someone I've admired for many years. I've had a
bit of a crush, I think.
Quite a soft spot for him, and I think he's pretty handsome too. A real horseman, and yeah, I really look forward to hearing his side of the story.
Absolutely. I'm very much looking forward to this guest. I think we're going to get quite an interesting second opinion and maybe some insights into a world that, I haven't really dived into, which is the world of Pippa Funnell.
So why don't you saddle up?
Join our equestrian community and let's talk horse.
Hello, Tristan.
Hello, Pippa.
The sun's shining, the spring's coming, there's spring in my step.
Absolutely. And outside this cosy little studio of ours, the sun is fully shining, and that means...
Well, it's that very busy time of year. We've just had the first weekend of the season eventing.
Very exciting time in the equestrian world. But what's on the cards for you, Pippa, this year?
I wasn't out. It's something I'm very indecisive, and I've got a lot of things on now, and I'm not quite 100% sure what my situation holds for me.
Is this the beginning of an exclusive story?
I'm certainly not saying I'm going to retire, and I'm also saying...
Certainly saying you're not going to not retire.
No, but basically I have got some event horses. I am very busy now with podcasts and my other commitments, whether it be through charity, the books, coaching. Obviously, one of my roles now is being on the board of British Eventing and on the sports committee for British Eventing. And you, Tristan, of course. I'm not saying I'm not competitive, and I'm not saying I'm giving up, but maybe taking a bit of a back step from the point of view of actually me on the field of play, eventing at the top level.
How do we feel about this?
That doesn't mean to say never, because I don't want it to be final. And as I said, I am Miss Indecision, or Mrs.
Next
Indecision.
week we'll be back in full force.
Yes, I might well be.
So things are changing a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I feel my role going forward now has more to offer, not from a competitive point of view.
But also, you're a successful podcast host now as well, top charting in the sports podcast. So there's things are happening.
I need time to learn a bit more about that.
I don't think you do. I think I need time to learn more about that. Okay, so it's an interesting time for you.
Yeah, I mean, change is frightening, and it's... eventing, I've been doing it for many years, and one thing I can't ever change is that
passion,
love affair with the horses, and I have to stay.
So what we're saying is watch the space. Because of your indecision, maybe it's the safe option.
Yeah, watch your space. It's indecision, but I probably will. I will enter up in April.
So this is not a retirement. This is not anything. This is just watch the space.
I'm not making any announcements, and I might be.
Guys, I'm retiring from Made in Chelsea. I'm not. You mentioned love affair earlier, obviously, with the game. It's a kind of leads me on to quite an exciting podcast guest today. So this is quite a big moment for you, Pip, because your podcast husband gets to meet your real husband properly.
Yes. So
is there going to be it's love is in the air? Are you going to be okay? Going to be overexcited in this podcast? Don't need my fan out? Because he's a very handsome chap.
I mean, William's my whole world, and I better say it before he's in the room.
That's really
because
quite sweet. Get the cute stuff out.
I can't. Yes, I will get the cute stuff out, because I was attracted to William right from when I was very young.
How long ago was that? It was quite a long time, wasn't it?
Well, I first knew of him when I was 14. I had a little sort of schoolgirl crush on him because he used to jump at the local shows. And I think what attracted me to him was he was the cool guy that was a very good rider. And he always came across lovely the way he was with his horses. And then I obviously went up to Norfolk and served my apprenticeship up there for 8 years. And I, had a boyfriend up there who was... I won't wave off. And
but it was always William Funnell.
Well, it wasn't then, but then somehow I came across William again, and
is this in the Rupert Campbell blackface when he was? Because I can imagine that'd be quite a good way of poking your interest
up. How did it
up.
work? I don't know how. Gosh. Anyway, we ended up.
It ended up working out in the end.
Getting on, and he's just. I've been, very lucky. We've been married for 31 years. And yes, I'm just very, very lucky that I've been married to such a great horseman that's absolutely, his passion is as strong as mine. So we would be very similar from that respect. I mean,
I'm very excited to get to know. I'm very excited to see who's going. I think you're a bit nervous, actually.
I'm very nervous. I've never interviewed my husband before. I'm very, very nervous.
Go easy on him, all I'll say.
And I'm still not quite sure what I'm going to ask him.
I'm sure together we can figure it out. Well, clearly he's a very, very well-accomplished horseman. But I also want to figure out, if he's a well-accomplished husband. And I've been on a lot of stag do's recently. We're going to find out. Have you heard of the game Mr. and Mrs.? So I'm going to ask you some questions now before William comes in.
Okay.
And then I'm going to ask him later, and we're going to find out just how well he knows you.
I bet he'll be useless.
Well, no, you say that, but men do pay attention sometimes when we're told to.
I'm not sure. Anyway, we'll see.
So I'm going to ask you some simple questions, and you've got to give me the honest answer, and we can't cheat, and then we'll ask him at the end.
Okay.
So the first question is, what's your shoe size?
6.
Do you think he'll know that?
Yeah, if he says it, he'll be guessing.
Fine.
He will be guessing.
Okay. So 6 is the correct answer. Fine.
Yeah.
How many Pippa's ponytail books have you written?
I've written 18 in the first series and 4 in the second series.
Fine. Okay, so 22 cumulative total.
Yes.
Will he get that right?
Probably not. And he wouldn't have read any of the books. And all he keeps on talking about is that he wants to write the sequel. And he thinks that will be bestseller.
Fine.
But that's a bit ruder than my version.
I probably would buy that one.
His won't be children's books. It will be Tilly's next stage in life.
Interesting. Okay,
but
see.
I don't know. I don't think he will know the answer to that.
Okay, so 22.
Won't.
Bank that one.
He won't.
This next one, what would your coffee order be if you went to a coffee shop? And what would your cocktail order be if you went to a restaurant or a bar?
If I wanted a cocktail, it would be a margarita. And if we went into a coffee shop, it would be a cappuccino.
We'll see just how good a horseman and a husband Mr. William Funnell is. I'm excited.
So let's talk horse with my husband.
Welcome, William.
Good afternoon.
You two know each other quite well, I think.
Welcome, darling. You made it out to London, and I actually am ashamed to admit that you were very punctual, which...
Why are you ashamed to admit your husband's punctuality?
Well, because
it's difficult when you get told what train to get on. It's difficult not to be on time, isn't it?
Well, you say that, but...
And it's a 10-minute walk, so I don't know how I was going to get lost. I could have gone in the wrong direction.
I was hoping you were going to ride into London, and I did. That'd be quite cool. Probably not.
No,
can't fit them in the studio.
I'm not ashamed. What I was trying to say is it shows that it's always me that's late.
Well, I'm hoping to get half of the equestrian chat out the way, and then maybe understand a bit more about this relationship. I think I'm very excited for this one. I think Pippa's a bit nervous.
Can we just move on? And I'm going to ask William the question of how, for the listening audience, how you first got involved with, not me, horses.
I was lucky to be son of a farmer, and animals were part of everyday life, and horses were always there. And so I always, from early on hunted and did the pony club stuff. And my father show jumped, so it just seemed a natural thing. I didn't seem to have to push. It just sort of went along that way.
Pippa's answer was essentially the exact same. I just had a love of horses, kind of ended up, winning things all the time. So at what point did you realise this was kind of a career move and this was your full passion, something that you really wanted to kind of dive into?
The guy that I went to work for offered me a job when I was sort of in ponies, that when I left school at 16, which you did then. And I think at that time when you were 16, you had to go and earn a living. So it was as much that I was offered a job than it was that I thought. I was reasonably successful, but not terribly successful on ponies. So it would have been one or the other, but with animals.
Yeah. It's actually an interesting question for both of you as well. You know, what percentage of people do you reckon kind of move on to have a full-time career in the equestrian world versus maybe people who don't kind of necessarily make it to the next step?
I think it's an interesting thing because we have so many young riders. All I can say, if we train them well enough and they know enough about young horses and how to do things in the correct way, even if they're not super talented, at least they can earn a living within the sport. So I don't feel bad about, listen, it's hard work and they have to work hard. And if they're not prepared to work hard, they're definitely not going to make it, because that's a test of how much you want it, I think, at that age. So I don't feel bad about them working hard, because at the end of the day, if they can't stand that, then better get a 9-to-5, 5-day week job, because you're never going to achieve your goals if you're worried about working hard. And that's why Pippa would say, and I would say, I've probably been particularly selfish, because most of my life I've done exactly what I wanted to do, and we've been lucky enough to be able to do that it's not been a hardship to go and do that, because we've enjoyed doing what we're doing.
Yeah.
What William did as a youngster, he's talking when he was 16, and that's when I first sort of...
Well, Pippa said she had a crush on you since she was 14.
When I was 14. But that was really, with both of us, I'm not going to start because this is obviously but because we had to work hard, we realised how serious we were about our relative sports.
And if you are going to do it, you're going to have to commit to it, kind of, that sort of thing. So how does the apprenticeship work then? So you say you had an apprenticeship. Does someone offer you like an X amount of time here to prove yourself?
Basically, similar to as we do. If you see somebody that you think rides well enough, then the guy saw me riding ponies and said, and actually while my father was combining during the harvest, my father wouldn't have time to take me to a pony show, so he used to drop me off at this guy's yard and say, right, off you go. And somebody used to perhaps run me up and down, and I used to have to fend for myself and take my ponies up and jump them. And so he knew me, and he knew probably from that I was prepared to work hard, so he offered me a job from there. And from 16, I never went home again, to be honest with you.
Seems to be this kind of, this meritocracy kind of, working hard and making it work. What is your passion? Like, where does the passion come from horses? What is it that you most love about these animals and kind of has kept the two of you in this world for so long? If you could try and pin it down.
I think the driving for trying to do right by the animals and do it better, and obviously now we're diverse with the breeding, just trying to do a better job of educating them to show people how, what a wonderful animal they are if they're trained correctly in the right way, how simple things can be and how much they want to do what we ask them to do. It's us that make them complicated. And actually, things have changed so much since, the word breaking a horse. In actual fact, when we go back, even when I was first at 16, if we could get a saddle on it, I rode it, which actually, yes, not only is it frightening for me when you get legged up on a wild horse going up down, it's actually particularly frightening for them at that time.
Yeah.
But that was how we did it. But actually now you breaking a horse would be the wrong word. It would be getting its confidence and showing it how nice it can be to share, stuff with a rider, rather than the word breaking a horse, like you see in a rodeo. Because nowadays, it doesn't happen like that. You'd get a horse in the stable quietly, you'd take days or weeks until the horse is confident with you on his back before you get to a situation where you can fall off it and frighten it and make things more complicated, because it's us that make things more complicated with young horses. So if you do it correctly from the beginning, usually they're all very straightforward.
Probably straightforward for you guys, because you know what you're doing. But it's funny you obviously share that, doing right by the horse as a expression that you've said so many times.
We've always shared very similar beliefs. I mean, if I didn't like the way he was riding and he was rough with the horses, I actually really wouldn't have found him attractive.
I think you still would have fancied him.
Okay, he was blonde and yes, gorgeous, but
but it was the horsemanship.
Yeah, I think that was.
And there's this pretty little thing on the collecting ring, you see.
Yeah,
me.
I can picture it now. It's quite a beautiful love story. I'm just picturing it on the romantic at heart.
Yeah, it took a while. It took a while. Then we were probably 16, and then it was.
Then
19,
we got to know each other really when I started if we were going out. Obviously, officially, but that's nowadays.
Well, we've discussed there's levels to this thing, aren't there? Yeah.
Because nowadays, official, you have to announce it on the socials, but we didn't do that in
On
those days.
social media. Well, so there's an exclusive thing, so it means that you commit to not sleeping with anyone else, essentially.
Right, on social media.
I mean, I think that's... I don't write
Okay,
the
well,
rules.
it's very different in our day.
Yeah.
Anyway,
It's as confusing as it is for
so
me.
I remember William came up to a show in Norfolk, and we just got chatting, and you very kindly said, if you're ever eventing in sort of the area in Surrey, if you need stabling, let me know.
So a week later she rang. I knew she was on the hook.
A week?
Then,
That's quite a good... Made him wait a week.
No, I didn't. Anyway, I did need stabling, and I did go and stay, and I arrived with I had a blowout in the back tyre of the lorry, didn't I?
So I had to change it.
Pippa's got a screwdriver putting a hole in the back tyre.
And we went out to dinner. But I thought, when you said, do come and stay in the house, you didn't stay in the lorry. And I said, I'm not sure what these show jumps are like. I'm staying in the lorry, and I did stay in the lorry. Anyway, it's your.
Well, there's so much to dive into. It's so difficult because you've had so many career highlights. Obviously, it's fascinating to kind of understand because there's not many relationships, marriages in this world that where you've both done so well. So I think it's fascinating for the listeners and for us to kind of understand like how work and real life kind of comes together and how you've both had your amazing careers and had a partnership at the same time. And now you obviously got a business together as well.
I'm just going to say I am incredibly lucky because William always your priority was building a business, having a place, and you put your career, as in riding at the top, on hold because you had to sell horses, didn't you?
I was sort of paranoid, having seen people that chase dreams and end up with nothing, that I would at least start to have a business that I could earn a living and I was 26 before I actually jumped on a British team then. So it was a long time trying to make,
So the business came first and then...
The business came first. I was lucky to meet Donald Barnwell, who is the other half of the Billy Stud, who's been very like-minded with me. There's no way business-wise it could have worked without him, and he would be very much similar. It's not about money, it's about the love of horses and doing it better and doing a better job of what we do. And, that's ongoing really, that we're still chasing it with only halfway where we want to be really, But
I'm assuming you paid the mortgage
Pippa
off
said
now.
we're big enough, we don't need to do any more.
Sometimes I think when you're going to just put a bit of a curb on it, because it seems to be growing.
It seems like you two can't stop really.
We are incredibly busy, and probably if I'm honest,
and all the way through, so from buying a place to then, lucky enough, which Pip's meant riders came along sort of at a time where we were struggling. I'd bought the farm, interest rate.
He was put Campbell.
So how did that all come about? Because Pippa was mentioning that you basically were the body double for Rupert Campbell Black.
Yes.
In Riders. How does that?
Well, then they'd already filmed one session, but the horses the horse master had found for the actors were nothing like the horses that were the show jumpers had provided.
Yeah.
So it wasn't working. So they got another horse master who was a friend of mine, and he came to me and said, "Can you supply these horses? Can you do it?" So we managed to find, I think, 12 horses that we went to France. We did three weeks filming in France over international shows and things. So it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun and
wind-ups.
So there were a lot of wind-ups. Because we were right to the last part of the film, then we were involved in the pranks in the last week, and I thought one of the best ones was fill the fan of the car up with a bag of flour, because they're all hire cars.
Oh no,
Put the fan on full blast, so when they get in the car, it's a complete whiteout of the car. It's completely... And obviously they're hire cars, but I mean, you're never going to get the flour out of the car. But it was something I'd never seen.
That's so good. I mean, so obviously you guys have a lot of fun and success at the same time. Do you feel like you can kind of separate the marriage and the career?
I'll let William answer this one first.
I think there were two, obviously eventing and show jumping, two separate things, and probably it didn't always coincide, or that we both had a good horse at the same time. And then when I first met Pippa, she probably didn't have the best horses, and that was where, I don't know, Pippa was probably the first person to have a psychologist because she doubted herself that much, which I think, even at that time I would have been slightly, because for
he's trying to say
condescending, yes, but because actually at that time, which nearly all sport was, if you thought you needed a psychiatrist, it means you were showing weakness, that you weren't strong, and I think now the whole of sport has changed so much, hasn't it? Now if you didn't have a psychiatrist, I was nearly said.
I would be actually a psychiatrist for today.
Yeah, that's what he wants me to go to.
Then basically you weren't covering everything before you went to the Olympics, say, and probably throughout her career she has never been the most confident, so probably the most difficult time is when she's coming up to a big competition, that because everything's wrong, the horse is going terrible.
And obviously that's wrong. Just you kind of wanting to
aspire. Not going to win. There's no point me going. This is going to be, nothing.
I'm not that bad.
Well, these are the conversations I'm sure only that gets.
But it's amazing when there's a big competition coming up.
William's the same.
Even without knowing, Pip wouldn't think she'd changed, or I would be the same if I've got a big...
He'd be exactly the same.
Your sort of attitude change, you get quieter, you get more focused.
Yeah.
And you actually don't even know you're doing it, to be honest with you, because just you're used to always having a goal. So, that's where life's probably different now, that goals are, starting to change.
William's wanted me to stop eventing for a while now.
But I think... we've been lucky enough to be able to support one another, that when it's come to the big championships, probably a European Championships was a breakthrough. And then I think once Pip got to the stage where she won one or two of those, she started believing it. And definitely with her, actually the psychologist made a massive difference and was a big breakthrough to psychologists within sport, especially our sport then, which I think, I'm proud of her for actually being... weak enough or strong enough. I'm not sure which one, but
I think
actually it's just admitting that doubt, isn't it?
We all have it.
But probably the people that need it the most are the ones that would never use one, because they would be frightened of that weakness.
That's where we do differ, because I'm the first to admit that I wear my heart on my sleeve, whereas William can be quite difficult because he doesn't. So sometimes it's difficult to read him. I'd say, because you keep things to yourself.
That's what men do, isn't it?
Well,
that's what we're supposed to do. I mean,
it's it's all changing, but we are conditioned. It's probably part of the reason why we all are the way we are. It sounds like you've had kind of a background where you've been very independent from a young age as well, and had to kind of get on with things as well.
Yeah, I think I'm very much about solutions.
See, that's the issue. I've learnt this from my girlfriend recently. Sometimes women just want to be heard, right?
Yes,
is that right?
And I want a solution. Yeah,
and I
don't go all around. Just have a marital war.
I get that. I get the problem, but have you got a solution?
Otherwise, yes, I often have a solution.
But the thing is, you just got to listen, and I've learned that recently. That's good. Is that good? Yeah. Correct.
I'm going to say something really.
Well, I can sort of say yes, but we've moaned about all the negatives, but how can we look at the solution?
God,
this is progress. This is really good.
Talk about the positives and things, and yeah, I do think one of the negatives, I know we absolutely love the horses, we love what we do, but we are so full on, we get tired. And when you get tired, sometimes you get just a little bit grumpy.
Oh, I completely agree, yeah.
And I don't like it when he goes to the UAE all of January and February. Little wife's at home because I'm on my own.
Oh.
I miss him. Yeah, I do. William, I actually miss you when you're away. And do you miss Pippi?
I miss you when I'm away.
We're making progress here, guys.
Yes. It's a Talk Horse marriage counselling session.
I'm so unqualified for this. I'm actually probably less qualified for this than I am the podcast.
So,
where were we?
Anyway, from a very unconfident who didn't believe in herself to a career that Pippa's had, actually from where she was, is incredible, actually.
Now I'm going to big William out, because to me, my proudest moment was last year when William became the GOAT of Hickstead, the greatest of all time, when you achieved your 5th Hickstead Derby victory. It was unbelievable and true testament to the horseman he is. And it was very, very special.
The goat of Hickstead. I like that.
Yeah, exactly, an old goat.
So is that a career highlight for you?
I think that obviously it was something that became magical to me and Hickstead Main Ring, because from watching from a young age, because my father used to ride there himself as well. So that, made Hickstead very special.
Yeah.
But I would say, because very much from the breeding set out to was another part that ran alongside my career and probably a competing career, and to win a team gold on Billy Congo, who was a homebred horse, was also very special.
Yeah. Wow.
And then more recently, I did tell Tristan about the situation which was very special with you winning the Nations Cup with Joe Stockdale, and the William has been amazing in the work he's put into Joe Stockdale.
Yes, I mean, a lot of people listening will have followed Tim Stockdale. He was Olympic rider,
great friend,
and competitor. We competed against each other. We were in the jumping field. We were arch rivals, but we were had I think admiration for one another. And unfortunately, Tim got cancer, and actually the last phone call he rang me, and I said, and he said, "Well, this is it, mate." And I said, "Well, I would do my utmost to look after Joe," and I've had an awful lot of pleasure from thinking about Tim, watching how Joe has progressed, and from what a lovely lad Joe is, to be honest with you. So that's sort of is something that I get a lot of pleasure, and I think I'm going to continue to get a lot of pleasure. He's a really talented lad, and really over the last probably when we started you wouldn't have known, but I'm sure he's going to be the top of the tree show jumper for a long time.
Continue the legacy.
So it's something we can
It's very special.
Yes.
And also what you've done with the guys from the UAE, because William, actually it was through the Hickstead Derby winning that Al Kirby came.
So I was lucky enough to get out to the UAE. Sheikha Fatima, sort of, if you like, is like-minded in the fact that she wanted those UAE riders to become more horsemen and understand, and women. She's also very keen on women on the girls riding as well, and bringing them in as part of the team. And their understanding of horses has come on in leaps and bounds, mainly through her foresight. Luckily enough, then the opportunity came up to be trainer and chef de keep for the Olympics last year. So that was a massive undertaking at the time, and a sort of, if you like, a career change. Although I'd said, yes, I'm not going to stop riding, but I'll do my utmost to try and make it work. And the youngest rider in the individual final ended up in the top 20 in the individual final, and we were second in the Nations Cup against all the best teams in the world. Sort of, I think we've put UAE on the map.
And it seems like you guys are in a great position now where you're shaping forgive me if I was stepping line, kind of shaping the future of the sport as well. Obviously you're on the board, you're doing so much for development in other nations where the sport is only growing. Is it quite an exciting time to kind of see both your sporting worlds change?
I feel we absolutely have a huge responsibility to promote good horsemanship, to get people, it doesn't matter where they are from in the world. I'm obviously more involved with the Japanese. It doesn't worry us where they come from, but actually to get people to understand horses and gain from our experience. And as William said, through the Billy Stud, we've all the way through both of our careers, we have produced horses from babies. And, they teach you, youngsters teach you, don't they, to be horsemen, or we find they have, and we both have never stopped learning, have we? But would you not agree that I think we have almost a duty. And I know you said to me something the other day when we were lying in bed watching Breakfast Deli, and I've just done a pony club coaching conference, and I said they've asked me to do it next year, and William said, but you're not going to, it's not your job to change the world. But I sort of feel that actually it is our job to try and promote good horsemanship.
Yeah.
Yes, I would agree, and I think as I said about breaking a horse, things have changed. That isn't an issue if people understand how much a horse enjoys being with us as much as we enjoy being with them. And I think it's showing that to people. And obviously there are always exceptions, but most of those people that are those exceptions is because they don't understand either. And if you can spread that message that proper horsemanship, basically that understanding, then we'll have achieved something.
It's amazing. It seems like from the two of you, you've obviously achieved so much personally in your careers, started very successful businesses, but the key point, and this is what Pippa speaks about a lot, and you've obviously emanated that massively, is doing right by the horse. And it seems like this responsibility that you have is not necessarily to pursue your own interests in the equestrian world, it's more to make sure the next generation does the right thing.
Yes. Yeah. And to the people that work for us and the people that, that hopefully they understand to do things the right way.
Well, you've shone a beautiful spotlight on the equestrian world. And thank you so much, William. There's just one thing that I need to get into before we round up this very special episode of Talk Horse, and that is, I want to look into the domestic life. I want to see, obviously you're very good in the equestrian world, how good a husband are you? And this is a very short format of questions. I'm going to interfere in William's eyes. I basically asked Pippa a few questions at the beginning of the podcast, and ideally you're going to get them all wrong.
Hopefully I'll get them
There's
right.
There's 4 or 5 questions I want to ask you. And it's just, it's a Mr. and Mrs. Played a few of these on Stag Do's. So first question, and no cheating.
I'm not cheating.
What is Pippa's shoe size?
I said he wouldn't know it.
We can have a
Is
rough...
it a half? Can I get a cue?
You can.
Is it a half? Is it?
It's not a half, it's a whole number.
5.
I knew he wouldn't
6.
get it.
Yes!
6.
Yeah, but
Nailed
he
it
said
first time.
5. He said 5. You went...
Okay, we'll call that half marks.
No, because I said he wouldn't get it. So
okay,
I'm
so
right.
you guessed right. Okay. Pippa also guessed you wouldn't get the next one right, but there's also a story we need to hear afterwards. And that is that how many Pippa's Ponytails books has Pippa written? And what's your idea for the sequel?
I can't say that.
IP, intellectual property.
I'd like to say 20, but it could be that they're only 18. But there have been some other
I'm going to
sort
give
of
you
question and answers that
No, that's not included.
Well, I'm going to give you. I'll give you half points for that because 18 in the first series.
Yeah.
And 4 in the second.
Yeah, so he's only got...
Well, he's
so
He's
22.
wrong. So
no, but he said 18 in the
yeah,
first series.
Yeah, but he didn't say 18 first
Can we give him
series.
half points?
Okay, half a
Half
point.
points.
But I
Okay.
still got that right, so I'm ahead because I said he wouldn't know. Exactly.
I didn't realise you guys would be competitive. I didn't.
Yeah, competitive.
That was definitely sarcasm. Okay, so half a point. Pippa's up. What cocktail would Pippa order at the bar?
Margarita.
Nice. No hesitation. And finally...
That's because she had one last night.
Straight in. Shoe size, not a clue. Margarita. Final question. If Pippa was to order a coffee from a coffee shop, not at home, coffee shop, what would she have?
She'd have a cappuccino.
Nice. So not only are you very successful in the equestrian world, you're a great husband as well. I think that's a perfect place to round up the podcast.
Yeah, and have we got what's for supper tonight?
That's the next question. What's for supper?
So how did it feel being interviewed by your wife?
Well, as I said, I listened to a lot of I thought Mick Fitzgerald's, I listened to last night. I thought, however can I be that interesting? So
Well, you're not.
No, exactly.
You're biased in your opinion.
I thought his was very good. And there's been some very good ones, and I'm sure
It's another excellent
mine's
one.
very boring.
I'm very proud of you, Willie. Very proud.
I'm very proud of you too, Pip.
Blech.
I'm proud of you both.
Yes.
I thoroughly enjoyed that, Pippa. I think that was... We waited a long enough time to have William on, and it was well worth the wait. I think he was fantastic. And it's so nice to see, the whole picture.
No, I am very, very proud of him. And as you can tell, we have a lot of similarities,
Quite a few.
some differences as well. I'm obviously the indecisive one that's unconfident and everything else. But no, I mean, I'm very, very proud of what he's achieved. And I think with both of us really, when we have youngsters come or they look at us with our sort of Billy Studloys and this, that and the yards that we have, I think it's fair play to William, you know, thanks to him and the way he viewed things when he was younger and his sort of business sense. But everything we've got and everything that's been built up, you know, both of us served the apprenticeship, and it's been through the drive and the hard work and the passion that, you know, we've got what we've got, and that is thanks to William's foresight. And if it'd been me, I'd be probably that person renting a yard still.
I'm sure not. I think
Because
it's
I'd
very
want to
clear.
keep every pony and every horse that I've ever ridden. Whereas
The emotional attachment.
Yeah.
I think it's very clear that you guys both live by the kind of mantra of doing right by the horse, and I think that is such a nice thing. You know, both done so well in your careers, built business, but then to instill that, I think, is the key takeaway, and obviously why you guys are such a good team.
And he is, absolutely in my eyes, he is a true horseman.
The real stud.
Even though he makes me cry.
I do think we're going to have to come back for in the second series for a part 2 of that. So I feel like we only just scraped the surface of what we could get into there. I mean, you guys have done so much, it's impossible to condense it into one pod.
Yeah, after all the years, it is quite tricky. But
How many years of marriage? 31?
31, yeah,
How do I-
1993.
Amazing.
And
Wow.
we renewed our vows after 25 years.
Wow. Maybe,
I think that was a joke to start with, but anyway.
but then you actually went into it.
No, we're lucky. We've had a lot of fun over many years.
Well,
Hope he's not listening.
he's not here. He's gone. He's at home getting tea ready.
So if you've loved us talking horse, why don't you join our equestrian community and let your friends know as well?
Absolutely. So please do subscribe and make sure to leave us a review, as it makes a massive difference.
Our email is info@talk-horse.com. Do tell us your own horse stories and we will bring them up in future episodes.
Absolutely. And please do join in the conversation, because we've got so much more horse talk to share with you.
Bye.
Bye.